Bryan Kohberger thought he was the perfect killer. PhD student in criminology, studying how to commit the perfect murder.
Door of a man studying for a career in criminology.
He killed 4 college students in their sleep and left almost no physical evidence.
4 students at the University of Idaho were found murdered in their off-campus house.
The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time.
Very interesting how 4 students can be overcome by 1 person with a knife, not a gun.
It's answered. How could they not tell us what's going on?
When you said there were 4 victims, and I said 4.
But here's what makes this absolutely insane. The same digital technology he was studying to avoid detection is exactly what caught him.
There's a mountain of evidence against Kohberger, who was a PhD student in criminology.
And the trail he left behind is so detailed, it's like he documented his own crime spree. But before I show you how a criminology student's own expertise became his downfall, you need to understand that Bryan Kohberger made one fatal mistake.
She saw a man dressed in black with a black mask, and she says he has bushy eyebrows.
Is the DNA that was found on the knife sheath that was left.
It includes his DNA on a knife sheath and surveillance video that places him at the crime scene.
He forgot that in 2022, privacy doesn't exist. Every click, every drive, every phone ping was being recorded, and that digital trail led straight to his door. What I'm about to show you isn't just the story of a quadruple murder. It's the story of how modern technology has made it virtually impossible to commit the perfect crime, even if you're literally studying how to do it. By the end of this video, you'll know how Kohberger's phone data placed him at the scene 12 times before the murders, the digital evidence that connected him to the victims months before he killed them, and the one piece of technology that he forgot about that sealed his fate. This case has everything. A criminology PhD student who thought he could outsmart police, 4 innocent victims, a digital trail spanning 3 states, and evidence so overwhelming it reads like a tech thriller. But here's what will shock you most. Kohberger was caught not by brilliant detective work, but by the same surveillance technology that tracks us all every single day. November 13th, 2022, 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho. 4 University of Idaho students are brutally stabbed to death in their sleep.
One possibility being explored is that the students were all sleeping when they were slain.
Anything more terrifying than what they went through. I really don't.
The medical examiner described the crime scene inside the 6-bedroom house as horrifying.
Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernadel, and Ethan Chapin. The killer used a large, fixed-blade knife, moving through the house like a ghost.
The attack was targeted with a, quote, edged weapon.
No forced entry, no witnesses. 2 roommates downstairs slept through the entire attack. Police found almost no physical evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA on the obvious surfaces, no murder weapon. The killer seemed to vanish into thin air.
I set foot in the house and immediately Hunter was like, get out, somebody call 911.
Police have not identified any suspects and are appealing for calm today as frightened students flee the campus.
Any assistance you can give us, anybody that owns one, anybody that knows of someone who owns one or may have been driving one, if you could get a hold of us through our tip line or call us directly, we'd appreciate it.
But here's what investigators didn't know yet. The killer had been watching this house for months. He'd driven past it at least 12 times in the weeks before the murders. He'd studied the victims' routines, their schedules, their social media posts, and every single one of those surveillance trips was being tracked by technology he forgot existed. Bryan Kohberger was a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, just 10 miles from the Idaho border. He was studying how criminals avoid detection, writing his dissertation on how offenders choose their victims. But while he was learning how to commit the perfect crime, he was also creating the perfect digital trail to his own conviction. Here's where this case gets absolutely mind-blowing. Kohberger's phone data shows he drove from Washington to Moscow, Idaho at least 12 times between June and November 2022, always late at night, always taking the same route past 1122 King Road. But it gets worse, much worse. Cell tower data shows Kohberger's phone pinging near the victim's house at 2:47 a.m., 3:29 a.m., and 4:20 a.m. on different nights in the months before the murders. He was stalking them, learning their patterns. His car, a white Elantra, was captured on traffic cameras during these trips. License plate readers tracked his exact route from Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho, and back. But here's the most chilling part. Kohberger was following the victims on social media. Instagram data shows he viewed Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogan's profiles dozens of times. He knew their schedules, their friends, their habits. He even tried to message Madison on Instagram weeks before the murders. She never responded. The digital evidence shows Kohberger wasn't just planning these murders, he was obsessed with these specific victims for months. Now, here's where Kohberger's criminology training completely backfired. He knew about DNA evidence, so he wore gloves and a mask. He knew about fingerprints, so he was careful not to touch surfaces. He even knew about security cameras, so he avoided the main roads. But what he didn't account for was the invisible digital web that tracks every person, every car, every phone in America 24/7. And that web was about to tighten around his neck. November 13th, 2022. 4 a.m. Kohberger's phone goes dark near his apartment in Washington. He turns it off, thinking he's going invisible. But here's what he didn't know. His car was still being tracked. Automatic license plate readers captured his white Elantra driving toward Moscow at 2:47 a.m. Traffic cameras caught him again at 3:26 a.m., just minutes before the murders. The most damning evidence? His phone pings back on at 4:48 a.m., driving south away from Moscow. The timing matches perfectly with the estimated time of the murders. But Kohberger made one critical error that night. He forgot about the car's internal computer system. Modern vehicles record everything – speed, location, door openings, even how many times you start the engine. While Kohberger thought he was safe in Pennsylvania, investigators were building an airtight digital case against him. Phone records showed his device reconnecting to cell towers along his escape route. Credit card data revealed gas purchases that matched his travel timeline. Even his Amazon account showed suspicious purchases in the weeks before the murders. But here's the evidence that sealed his fate. Genetic genealogy. Investigators found a tiny amount of DNA on a knife sheath at the crime scene. Using the same technology that solves cold cases, they traced it to Kohberger's family tree. Then they got confirmation the old-fashioned way. They collected his trash from his parents' house in Pennsylvania. The DNA was a perfect match. But the digital evidence didn't stop there. Kohberger's internet search history was a roadmap to murder. How long does DNA last on a knife? Idaho student murders timeline. Do police have DNA evidence in Idaho murders? When will Idaho murders be solved? He was literally Googling his own crime. December 30th, 2022, 3 a.m. FBI agents surrounded Kohberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania. They'd been watching him for days, collecting more evidence. When they arrested him, Kohberger seemed shocked. He thought he'd committed the perfect crime. But investigators had built a digital timeline so detailed they knew everywhere he'd been for months before the murders. The criminology student who thought he could outsmart the system had been caught by the very technology he should have understood better than anyone. But here's the most chilling part of all. When police searched Kohberger's apartment, they found something that proves this wasn't his first time stalking victims. They found detailed files on other young women, other potential targets. The Idaho murders might not have been his first crimes, just the first time he got caught.